I may do this again after I get everybody started. I might do this part again. So this is happening. But for the moment,
normally I notice, but I didn't.
I know, I was like doing it and then I stopped doing it. Hey, Rollo.
Hello, sorry, I couldn't get in.
That's okay. The WhatsApp thread is in the chat, in a Zoom chat. So if you want to link to the WhatsApp thread, just go to the chat screen in Zoom and you'll see a link there that you can follow to be invited to the group.
I can't see it.
It's in the chat screen.
I actually don't see it either.
I think when you join, you don't get to see the history of the chat. You only
Oh, maybe that's right. You're probably right. How's that? Can you see it now?
Yep.
Awesome. You're right. Thank you, Jane. You learn something new about Zoom every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I sent it. Paul, the link to the WhatsApp chat is in the Zoom screen.
Oh,
so you need to follow that. All right. Let me make sure. I'm going to put it in one more time just to make sure. There we go. Here I was, I'll try to get ahead of myself, and what I learned is that that's impossible. So for those of you who are here and working with black and white, pencil or charcoal or what have you, I've just walked through how to draw this whole vase of flowers, and you're just going to do the black and white version. As soon as everybody gets into the WhatsApp thread, I will send over a copy of the black and white version so you can see it. And you start by doing the circles. And in fact, I will actually review that again. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to start using color, which is very exciting. So for those of you who are in Pastel, let's see. I'm going to do just this red flower. I'm just going to do this red flower right now. Just that one. And I'm going to show you the steps for mixing color. So I'll start by giving myself a box. Yes. Hey, what do you think of my new camera? It's much better, isn't it?
It looks great.
Yeah,
Excellent.
HD.
Definitely.
It's an 8-inch tablet. So I just was finding my phone wasn't getting far enough. So here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw the outer shape of this flower, which is, as you'll see, the kind of first step. And it's kind of up like this and over. Yeah, that's the outer shape of that flower. And then I'm going to put in this kind of, but I'm not really paying attention to the petals right now. I'm not trying to do like this. If I start doing that, it's going to look like crap. Your drawing is going to look terrible. You're going to draw these too big. It's going to look like a little kid did it. And you don't want that to happen. Not that there's anything wrong with little kids, but you know what I mean. So I am sketching in this kind of purple shape and this dark shape. So that is the first thing I'm going to do. And I'm using a color of pastel that I know will disappear in when I put in colors on top. So I am not ever going to use a black pastel. I am not going to use a green pastel. I'm going to use something orangey and kind of light so that when I add pastels into it, it disappears. So for those of you who took the class last week, you will see, and by the way, the recording is up. So if you want to review it, to view basic color mixing, what we learned last week is that pastels on their own are kind of flat and transparent. They are fantastic with color, but when you just lay one layer down, they don't have enough oomph. So when you're trying to layer pastels, when you're trying to create a pastel drawing, you have to kind of look at what the color is underneath the other colors. And that can sometimes be surprising. It can sometimes be something that you don't expect. I mean, when we look at yellows like this, it's pretty straightforward. There might be, let's see, two types of yellows, right? Like here's a yellow, and then there's maybe a lighter yellow on top, right? And notice I'm taking my finger to kind of smudge it. It might be that simple, but a lot of colors have a kind of darker base underneath. And the question is, what is that? What is that base? If I go in and I do, here, I'll draw this again. I'll draw this again here so that you can see it twice. So if I go in and I sketch the colors of this flower are red. So say I just decide to go in and put in a red. I put in a red, and then there's a purple layer, and here a light purple. Ooh, I wonder if I have that. You'll quickly find that however many pastels you have, it's not enough, right? So I put in a purple like this. If I just do that, and then a dark, like a black like this, if I just do this, this drawing looks very flat. You can see that. You can see the paper underneath. That is because pastels are transparent. You can see through them. So you really only get good quality when you layer. So you can see here, like why that's not really working. I mean, it's okay, but it's like, I can see these marks. I can see like all kinds of things. This is like, I can see through to the base of the paper. This is not how, and that's obviously not what's happening here. Now, this is an actual pastel by a guy named Odilon Redon. I will write down his name. I like to call him my dead French boyfriend. He's just the bomb. When it comes to pastels, there's nobody like him. He was a French painter alive in the mid 1800s. And so if you think about it, camera invented in the early 1800s, right? So painters began to the painters that didn't go out of business because they considered themselves the camera and the camera competed with them, began to question, what is a painting? If it is not a photograph, if it's not photographically real, what is a painting? And Odilon Redon, I think, had a huge impact on Impressionism. Even though he was a little bit earlier than a lot of the Impressionists, he was what the French call a colorist and a symbolist. So you can see, if you look really closely here, how everything is done in very simple shapes, and it's all layers of color. And if you look like here at his backgrounds, they're just insane. I mean, there are so many colors going on here. It's beautiful, even to just figure out what his backgrounds are. So he was kind of a master colorist, and that's why we copy him, because this is actually pastel. Last week, what we did was work with a oil painting. But this week, we're actually looking at the technique of pastels and how he used them. So if I want to get some kind of bright, vibrant red, like what he's got going on here, I know that there's a color underneath that I'm missing. So I know that this is would anybody tell me, what would you call this red? Would you call it warm or would you call it cool?
Warm.
Yeah, it's pretty warm. It tends more towards the orange rather than the pink. So I'm looking for a kind of a warm color.
Do we have a difference between warm and cool?
Yes, there is a big difference. Oh, not here on this paper though.
Can you explain to us? Sorry.
Yeah, I will explain it to you, but you will not understand it, but I will explain it to you.
Oh.
Not you personally. I'm saying it's very hard to explain, but I will try to explain it to you. It's a better thing to show it to you in like action. Sorry, I didn't mean to say you won't understand it. It's a tough thing to explain.
Cool red. Okay.
This is a cool red. It's got more pink and blue and less orange in it. This is a warm red. See the difference?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So a cool red has sort of more blue undertones. So this is actually a great moment to talk about. I hope you don't mind, Paul. You've now asked the best question because I can talk about warm and cool colors. This is going to be a little confusing, but it is worth it to start thinking about colors this way. So in general, when we think about warm colors and cool colors, warm colors are oranges, yellows, and reds. And cool colors are blues, purples, and greens. But within that spectrum of color, there are cool reds and warm reds. So this is a cool red. This is a warm red. There are cool yellows. I'm looking to see if I've got a cool yellow. Cool yellows, cooler yellows. Actually, let me put this down here in the cool category. There are cooler yellows. And
That's
there
fluorescent,
are-
isn't it?
it's just cooler. It has less orange in it and more white. And there are, that's not the warmest yellow I can find here. Hold on, I'm looking for the warmest yellow I can find. Where? All right, there we go. That's a warm yellow. See the difference? This is almost like, this has got more white in it. So this tends to lean more towards pink or blue. This tends to lean more towards orange or yellow. The yellow tends to be more orangey. The cooler white yellow tends to be more sort of white, which is a cooler color. White is a very cool color. Blues, let's see. That might be a warm blue. Here, I think this is a warmer blue. Let me see if I can find a cooler blue. Oh yeah, and that's a cooler blue. Purple can also be warm or cool. And these are the primary colors, so these are the good ones to like think about. Let's see. Here is I think that's a cooler green, and this is a warmer green. Can you see the difference? So we will do more practice on, now that you've mentioned it, I think we're going to do some more practice on this. So not today, but this is the general idea. So when we look at this, we see that these colors are pretty much all on the warm side, I would say. I think there's a lot of warm, even in the purples and in the yellows. If you're all on the WhatsApp thread, I'm going to send over a picture of this that doesn't have all my gunk on it. It doesn't have all my, writing on it. Here, hold on. Let me get there. WhatsApp. Here, I'm going to do this so you guys can see this kind of with the unadulterated. It's really beautiful. His color use is just extraordinary. So all of these colors, this color is kind of a warm color. And so I know I need something kind of warm at the base. And I need something a little bit darker because this tends to read a little bit light, but I don't want it to be too dark. So I'm actually going to go into, and I'm going to start testing with some mixes. So when you do your drawing, you're going to have a part of your paper here that is not the drawing, where you can do testing. And I expect you to do a lot of testing. Let's see here. This is kind of an orangey brick color. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I want to see what happens if I lay reds on top. Ooh. Now I'm getting something. It looks a little bit dark on the screen, so I'll take a picture just to show you. But I feel like this brown, it's almost a browny orange that I put down as the base. Here, I'll even try
Yeah, I
one.
think it's like rust.
Yeah, it's like a rust, exactly. And then I put this red on top. And then I put a lighter red on top of that. And now I feel like I'm starting to get my color. You see that? Let me take a picture so you guys can see the mixing. Because I still think that is one of the problems of Zoom, is that we don't have fantastic like photographic quality. So I'll take a picture of all these. So for those to just remember, everything on the right is cool, everything on the left is warm, and then this is the mixes that I've been playing with. So, but I really need to do this otherwise I might go too dark here. But I think I kind of like this. So, and then because I've got this purple in the center here, I want to see if that purple, there's a purple that might look good on top of this color. It might not work. It might mix. Let me see. That might work. What you immediately find after you start working with pastels is that whatever you have, you do not have enough colors. and it's a path. I think I might be able to create a purple that kind of sits on top of that red. So what does that mean? That means that when I start doing my flower, I can do the whole thing in this rust color, this base. Like that. Notice I haven't done any petal shaping. This is basically a circle. I'm not worried about what's next to it right now. I'm only just worried about this flower and the layers. And because there's mostly, yeah, let me try that. And you'll find also that some, like this pastel doesn't really cover very well. It's a little bit harder that I like to use. So it tends to, like here, you can see it leaves these marks. But I'm using the side of it. Oh yeah. So now we have it, I'm using my finger. If you don't want to use your finger, which is messy, you can use, and one other thing as we're going through it. Can you already see, by the way, a difference between this and that? Without even getting the top color on, you can see
Yes.
there's a difference. It's richer.
Definitely.
It's warmer. And then if I go in here like this with this kind of orangey yellow, things really start to happen. Yeah, now I'm starting to get a color that looks like the color that my boyfriend has. My dead French boyfriend.
Can you show the pastels that you just used, Leah?
Yeah, they're all here.
You noticed when you switched, like with your hands?
Oh, all right, let me see. Here is the first one. So the first one was this sort of rusty burnt sienna color.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I put this kind of cool red. Cool red. So, and I'll do that here. So rust and then cool red. So these are on top of each other. And then the last one is this kind of, oh, let's do this. This is even better. This is this kind of bright, that's fantastic. Oh, that's even better. Oh yeah, look at that. This is this kind of bright, almost orange. So these are the three colors. Burnt sienna, kind of a cool red, and then this light orangey red on top.
Is that
This-
generally what you would use, 3 colors?
Sometimes 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 3.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. It'll depend.
I thought I was just gonna pick out these pretty colors from my box and use
I
them.
know. But you'll love this. So just work on 2 or 3 flowers if you want to. You don't have to do the whole thing. But some people find it really addicting and do it. So I always like to give the option of doing that. So, and then I've got, and I'm just looking to see, just don't have that light purple. So yeah, I'm going to, I thought I did. Wait a minute, maybe this will work. Nope, that's way too bright. So you see how I'm like testing on, okay, that might work a little better. So even that's like kind of. So I'm laying this purple down, which is a little bit dark. And when I mix it with the brown beneath, it becomes a little bit less difficult, less like gross, less sort of bright. So that starts to happen. And then if I want to go even lighter, I can mix like kind of a light blue maybe on top of that. So I can like kind of go here. Gosh, even that isn't. I wonder if like I actually need to go in with white. No, white's gonna be too cool. So you're seeing, I might have to play around before I find the color combinations that are gonna give me what I'm looking for. I'm taking a kind of light blue and with my finger, I'm kind of brushing that on top. That may be the closest I can get because I don't have a lot of colors. Yeah, that actually seems to work out. You'll see that certain things, as you mix, like certain things will become very neutral, but that's kind of what you want them to do. They'll seem a little dull. And then I can take this black and go on top of that red in the center and give myself a nice, beautiful, vibrant dark. See, look, even my dark here looks better than the dark here because I've layered some colors on top of that.
Are
So
there
see
any?
how?
Are there any colors that you wouldn't want to lay out on top of each other, or do they just?
Black we don't want to use until the very end, right? Unless there's like a very distinctly black area. So I never like to start with black because it's too dark. You can't get rid of it. So like watercolor, like you'll see, if I put too many colors on top of each other, say I put purple on top of yellow, I get this kind of muddy color. And then I try to get more purple on top and look what happens. It just kind of becomes darker mud. So, and unless that's what you want. So I wouldn't like put too dark a color, but mostly, Rollo, you'll find it out by testing. So you'll test and see. Sometimes you don't want a color that's too dark. Like with this purple one, I might start with a dark purple. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I know that that's not the color purple. It's a lighter purple, so I need to go on top. So before I lay anything down, I'm going to start testing. There's some blue in there, so that's starting to look a little bit better, but it's still not quite it. I'm probably going to end up using this blue again. Oh yeah. Now I'm starting to get a color that's a little bit
just
more.
white?
Yeah, this is actually a light blue, a very light blue. So although when I look at this purple, I actually see a little bit of brown, warmth. So I might also try this rust color, which I did with my red, and see what happens when I put purples on top of that. Ooh, now that actually is probably closer to what I'm trying to get. Now, right now it looks a little bit murky and dark, but I can put a blue on top.
With pastel, you can draw over, and that's like mixing with oils.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm watching Bob.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Bingo. A+ for, that's exactly where I'm trying to get you. Exactly. So ultimately, we're learning how to mix. We're preparing for January when I'm going to start teaching you acrylic and oil painting, where there's something underneath. So actually, I kind of like this. Ready color, sort of rust color with purples on top. So it's dark, but it's got a little bit of warmth from the purple underneath. That looks a little bit more like what's happening here. So you're generally gonna go, let's see. Okay, so let me think, Rollo. Let's think. It's like some rules of thumb are, if you want your colors to be very vibrant, you're generally not going to put a complement underneath your top color. So in this case, my top color is orange or kind of a reddy orange. The complement of orange is blue. The complement of red is green. So if I put green as my base and I try to put red on top, that will generally not work.
Now it gets gray.
It gets gray. Now, sometimes you may want gray. Sometimes that's what that calls for. But in this particular example, his colors are pretty bright. Actually, this looks a lot like what's happening in the flower up here. So that's one thing to think about. And also, if you go too dark, so say I wanted to do like, is that a brown? That's kind of, let me look for a darker brown. Oh, yeah. So here's a kind of cool brown. It's not so warm as the other. What happens when I lay reds on top of that? I may not get the vibrance. I don't know, that looks pretty good too. I may not get quite the vibrance. I'm looking for a really dark brown. Let's see. Ah, yeah, here's one. So here's a dark brown. If I put a red on top of that, it may be too dark. It might overwhelm the colors on top. So you also want to be careful not to go too dark. But the reality, yeah, so this will never get any darker, any lighter than this. Even if I put yellow on top, see how my yellow gets kind of neutralized by the dark color. So when you're looking for a color, you're looking for a color that when it blends with the other colors, it doesn't pull down the vibrance. It's not too dark or too light. So what happens if you go too dark? If I go too dark, I have my toothbrush, not my toothbrush, but my toothbrush tool that I use. I can pull off, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see the pastel dust kind of flying off?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I use it. So I can pull off some of that extra dust and maybe go back in with lighter. Ah, yeah, there we go. See, now I can get kind of brighter colors. That looks brighter. And I might be able to salvage my brights that way. But if I go too dark, like one of the things I had, my only sort of avenue is to pull this out with my toothbrush. There's one other thing you can do. I didn't ask you guys to have it this time because I just want to see how much you like pastel before we get too into the details. You can, if you have hairspray or pastel fixative, hold on, let me get mine. You can if you have pastel spectral tape, or like I said, hairspray, that totally works. I want to spray that and let it dry. Then I can put brighter colors on top and the bottom colors won't mix anymore. If you can see, this is an incredibly messy medium. If you can see, let's see, I'm looking for one hand that doesn't have anything on it. This is the mostly clean thumb. If I run it across here, see, I pick up all that pastel. If I spray this, then and I have to wait for it to dry. It usually takes a couple minutes, then I'll show you the second step. Then this won't come off. Yeah, even now you can see the yellow is not really coming off. This yellow over here. Then I can lay other colors on top once it dries, and look at that. Then they look very vibrant. And in fact, this is still wet, but let's see what happens. Yeah, it's still wet. Hold on. When it dries, on here I can though. As soon as it dries, I can lay, it doesn't want to dry. I can lay lighter colors on top of the dark and they look awesome. So if you're feeling stuck, like you need a dark color underneath, you can use the spray. But I'd like you to practice this concept of mixing. The final sort of step in working these flowers is you'll then go back over the background. In this particular case, there's this kind of green around the edges. And here, I'll use the background to kind of carve out the edge of the flower. So I've used green here, and then if I look at it closely, it's a little bit lighter. So I'll go in with a lighter green on top. See how that starts to look very pretty and flowery without that much drawing. I mean, really, from a drawing standpoint, these are fairly simple. So your option today is to try and draw this whole thing. And I will show you once again how to start that in pastel. Or your option is just to take maybe one flower at a time and test how you might layer colors on top. So you can start with this one that I did, if you want to, just to watch that and try that. Does anybody want to watch me draw this again before we get
Can
going?
you send a picture?
Sure.
Why can't I? Who is that?
I've noticed the picture is I've just been trying to work out the thing. It looks the one you sent us through. It seems much more
Vibrant.
No, well, vibrant, and also the one that you had the crosses in. You know,
Yes. So that's why. So let me talk about that very briefly, because that's what I started doing. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to show you guys before we get going, you will see here, if you're working upside down, up flat on an easel, pastels make a lot of mess. I don't know if you can see all of this dust that I've already accumulated. I'm going to pull off this just so you can see all the dust. These make a lot of dust. These make a lot of dust. That's all pastel from that demo. So I actually took a note, like a piece of notebook paper, like a pad, like a cover of a notebook sheet, and I folded it in half. So, and I put my board on one half of it and this on the other, so that it'll catch the dust. And then sometime during class, I can pick this up and go over to the garbage can or here and just roll it back out. If you're working flat, you might try blowing a couple of times, or you might actually take your whole drawing over and blow on it towards the garbage. That's the best thing I can say. And at the end, you will have a painting that's smudgeable. So that is the love and hate, the sort of glory and the difficulty of pastels. You will not get colors like this in paint. You only get them in pastel. But you then have to deal with the fact that like they're a little bit hard to control, but still it's worth playing around with because it's fun to do the testing, and the colors are so beautiful. So let me show you this really quickly. So Raul, my suggestion was, instead of getting very anal about the grid, that this time I would just have you divide it in half and in half, and I can send you this one, or you can do it on your own, right, where your grid fits the whole page. In this particular case, this is how the copy came out. So I just folded it in half twice, and I drew in this grid. And then once again, I'm going to pick a kind of a similar color. Right. And then I'm going to find the halfway point. I'd like you to actually measure. I'm not measuring because I want you guys to get started. I don't want to spend so much time wasting time doing that for you. But anyway. And then we start with these outer shapes. These just the flowers. And very simple flowers. Only the outer simple shapes of the flowers. Can you see how simple that is? And I'm skipping everything that's in the middle here. And I'm actually skipping these white flowers because I can add those in later. And I'm also not dealing with the vase, but I'm still using the simple grid. So in other words,
locations for the items, or
what's that, Paul? Tell me again.
for the locations of the items?
I'm using the grid.
Okay.
Simply. I'm using the grid simply. See, I'm just using a very simple variation of the grid. I'm using it, but I'm not so worried about it. Like if I have less background, I might be less worried about it. Notice that I'm not drawing any petal shapes. So we're not doing any of, I'll do it up here, this. We're not doing that. because that's, we tend to exaggerate the size of petals. So we're really just doing the outer shapes. And you'll also see that Odilon Redon doesn't do very much shaping. You'll see that's why they call him a symbolist and a colorist. He does almost everything. All of his depth comes through in color. So this is how you'll start. So this is if you're doing it in black and white or in color, this is how you start. You start like this, and then you go to the vase. Also using the grid. You'll be surprised at how small the vase is and actually how small the flowers are compared to how you think of them, right? And then I can add these shapes in. I can add in, I like to add in kind of the bigger shapes before of these flowers that are kind of sticking out. So let's see, that would look like this. Out here would really look like that. Wait, I don't like that. Can't see it. Let's do these here. They're like this, right? Like that. This one is here. This one is here. I can add the stalks in later. This one is here. Right? So I add those in, and then flower by flower, I start going through and doing my mixing. So any other questions before we get started on that? I know it's a lot of information to process, but I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. And if you're working in black and white, that's totally fine. I will tell you that the people who did this last week in Europe, the ones who didn't have color, ran out and bought some as soon as they could because they were very jealous of the people who could work in color. These colors are so much fun. Oh, and there's one more here. So you see, we start with these sort of simple, it looks like eggs, really, a bunch of eggs floating around, fried eggs around. And each flower, the bases won't be the same for everything. So, and you'll notice I kept some space here so that I can start testing. So once again, I think, nope, that was not it. Yes, so I had my base here, my rust, and my red on top of my rust, and then my lighter red. So I can start with that here. And because this flower is also red, I can, and the same kind of red, I can do that here too. So before I start getting into but you have choices. You don't have to do this whole thing. You could just practice on each different flower. Yeah.
Flowers are these?
What's that?
What kind of flowers are these?
I don't know. They're symbolist flowers. They're very simple. Kind of hard to tell.
They're not scientific variations, in other words.
They started as scientific variations, but you'll see how he simplified them. He really simplified them. So there will be another bouquet using different flowers in tomorrow's class if anybody wants to join or pick up the thread later.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's my purple, my darker purple. And then I'm going to go over with my lighter blue. And then over that brown base, I can put in my dark. Yes. And there's where my flower starts to come out, right? My individual flower. Or you can just simply do this in black and white. This is also a great, actually, I was just thinking, Jane, this is a good practice for black and white for pencil because there's not that much difference. Lana, I am going to send you in the chat screen here of Zoom. I'm sending you the thread so you can join WhatsApp. Is there anybody else who hasn't got that?
I sent it to me. I got it. Let me see if it works.
It's in the chat screen of Zoom, so you have to grab it from Zoom.
Yeah, but I don't have WhatsApp on my laptop, so.
But you'll need to email. I think you might have to email it to your phone, right, or text it to your phone. Oops,
I got
sorry
it.
about that, Rollo. So does everybody get? We have a new password to get us in. Zoom made me do that. I didn't want to do that, but Zoom made me do that.
Leah, I sent you mine. I just kind of played around with mixing the colors because since I hadn't worked with pastels at all.
Yeah. Isn't it fun?
It is
that's
fun.
Looking nice, Lisa. Looking nice.
Thank you. All
Looking
right.
nice.
Should I do the green in the background?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you should try another flower.
Okay. Purple's my
bouquet.
favorite color, so I'm going to do one of
maybe
the
you'll try
purple
the purple
ones.
ones. Yeah, and you can do them as separate things, or you can actually do it as one whole drawing, right? You can decide to do a whole drawing like this and try to get them all. It's up to you. It's really enjoyable, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's kind of addicting.
It's really addicting and so messy.
Yes.
So messy. How is everybody else doing here when it comes to?
I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it in acrylic and I'm not so sure that's.
Doing what in acrylic? The bouquets of flowers?
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Yeah.
Are you bored by the subject? Are you?
Yeah, no, I don't know what. It just, doesn't talk to me.
Yes. Jane, let's see.
But I'll work on it. We'll see.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, Jane, that looks fantastic. Great. Wonderful. How fun. It looks great. I love it. It's fun, isn't it? I mean, already notice how little detail you have and how much this looks like a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah, and it's so much smaller than you think it's going to be.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Isn't that interesting? How much smaller? I always found that one of the great things about working with Odilon Redon and this, Diana, that might be what it is. You might not like the size, the scale of everything.
Yeah.
You might want to make things bigger. So if you want, just do a little portion. Like do a little section.
I already started, so
You're going to see it through. Okay. And so
I think it's going to be like one of my trees, you know.
Oh, well, why don't you show me, before you get too big into your base, why don't you show me your base? Because the problem might be in the base, why it's not exciting to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it might be because I put the vase too low down.
Yeah, well, there you go. No, I wasn't thinking the vase. I was thinking the base, the color base.
Yeah. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it over. Let me see. But also, you might just find flowers boring. That might be. I could see. Thinking of the subject matter that I've watched you paint over time, it just might not be that interesting. It's funny. I could paint these all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to get more layers of color on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I would actually go darker with your bases on the purple, on the dark flowers. On the purple, the red, and the yellow. So interestingly, Diana, some of the mixing that we're doing here might be helpful to make those flowers pop. I think you went light too quickly.
Yeah,
And
I sketched it out.
yeah. So I was just thinking, go a little darker on those, and I think you'll like them better. It's pretty.
I'm gonna have to take this call.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that's interesting to know is how small, how much smaller everything is than you think it is. As we look at these flowers, they become so huge in our mind. So that is almost always happening when you're doing when you're drawing. When you're drawing anything, we make things too big. Whatever it is we're kind of attracted to, we make too big. It's really easy to do that. So that's one of the things that happens. The other thing that happens is you realize how simple our shapes need to be to get something that feels real, like to look like a vase of flowers. You don't need that much. So Odilon Redon really tells us this. I like to introduce pastels in our drawing section because when we go to painting, we're going to be talking a lot about the colors that go underneath. And we're going to be talking a lot about color mixing. And this is a great way to begin color mixing because pastels are a little less forgiving than paint. Paint, you can let it dry and then put something on top. But pastels, you have to get the right combination of colors or it doesn't, or, it gets too muted or it's too light, too dark or too light. So that's the interesting thing about it. But they're so beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, I just accidentally made like a puke green color as the background that is awful. So
yeah, so you may want to
see how you can screw up.
You can take a toothbrush and scrub out.
I have a toothbrush.
Take a toothbrush, scrub out some of the extra dust. So if you can get out some of the dust like that,
Okay.
right?
By the way,
Go
Leah,
in there. You'll create a dull color, but there'll be less dust to mix with, and you'll be able to put on a less pukey color on top. Yes. Yes.
I found on Google Images the picture.
Yes.
And I think it looks so much more vibrant. Shall I post it to the group?
Well, you could. I have it from a book. So the book itself is it's going to change every time there's a reiteration. So hold on, let me show this to you and I'll show you where the book that it came from. In fact, these are his flowers.
Okay, so he puts black dots in there. He's got
at the very end, Paul, at the very end, not at the beginning. So yes, I mean, you could send it over if you wanted to. Also make sure it's not somebody who's copied him because a lot of people do. But I actually had somebody scan these to try and get the right. Here's the original. Yeah, it looks kind of dark. It's just the here we go. Yeah, put it across, Rollo. Put it across the WhatsApp thread. That's a good idea.
Well,
I mean,
I printed it at home and those flowers that look purple on your screen look blue on my printout.
Right. The truth is it's going to change every time we reproduce it. So that's kind of helpful though. That's kind of helpful as you because you won't be able to have exactly the same colors, but it's good to see different variations, different photographs. I took a photograph of the scan, and so it probably isn't as vibrant as what Rollo put. Wait. Oh yeah, that doesn't even look, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. That isn't somebody's copy. Maybe I'm looking close. Could be him. Yeah, and God knows what these look like in real. I mean, this totally doesn't look like the copy I have in the book. Yep. Doesn't hurt.
But it's also probably the lighting and the
Right.
studio and things like that.
It's everything. It's everything, right? It's like the lighting in the studio, but like I didn't do this photocopy in the studio. Right, it is the lighting in the studio, but like it's also that's and so we have variation anyway in how these things look. So that gives us a little variation in how it might come across. Yeah, that is the one, like I said, the one problem with Zoom. It's not fantastic for color. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's so different. But take a look at his backgrounds. Aren't they crazy? I mean, if you'll see that he spends a significant amount of time, there's probably 7 colors in his backgrounds and probably 3 layers. And look at how like light it is down here and how kind of dark and purple with the oranges underneath it is up here, what he does with his backgrounds. It's actually all kind of purple on top of orange and yellow up here. And then it's these vibrant yellows with like white in here and sort of light oranges in here. He does a lot with backgrounds and that can keep you busy for days. I have to say, you guys, that since I started teaching pastels, I feel a lot happier. I don't even use pastels that much anymore because they're so messy, but the colors are so amazing. They just cheer me up. Well, that and the election, but these colors, it's really hard not to be completely in love with these colors. If anybody wants an easier assignment to sort of back this up, since a lot of you didn't catch the last one, try and get try and do the recording of last week's class, because that will give you it's a little bit simpler and you'll have some more practice in the layering and a little bit more freedom in the layering. And Cindy, since you have been working so much with painting, are these pastels kind of making sense to you in terms of how we're layering?
A little, yeah, but see, I didn't have a toothbrush. I was using a paper towel like we did with the paint. So
oh, you can use a paper towel. That will work too. it scrubs it in a little bit more, but like.
Yeah, I'm just making a mess, but that's okay.
That's okay. It's totally messy. I mean, it's so messy. Look at my hands. I mean, they're ridiculous. It's messy. It's just messy. Some of you, I predict, will get it on top of your face. You'll get it on you'll wipe it on your cheek. But I guess what I was meaning, Cindy, is I think when we talk about doing a base layer of paint, sometimes it's hard to imagine what that is, but I sometimes think with pastel, it's a little bit easier to get it, right? How the layers progress.
Right.
So when we go to painting again, it'll make sense. What do I put in the base? And then how do I mix my top layers?
Sorry, guys, I'm back.
Yes. Oh, bothersome work. Is it work?
Yeah, it was work. We're having a webinar tomorrow, so it was just like a pre-meeting.
What are you doing? What are you doing the webinar on?
It's on redlining of school districts,
Oh,
so it's not like exciting, but it's important.
oh, it's exciting. It's like, it's annoying.
Yeah.
It happens, so. Interesting. I'm assuming somebody who knows a lot about the subject?
Yeah, it is. It
That's really
is.
cool.
And then next week we're doing one with Lisa. And yeah, Lisa is moderating an event next week that you all are welcome to on journalism and mental health.
Oh, you're
Journalism
kidding.
and mental health.
When is that? What time is it at?
When is it? It's Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific.
Oh, so it's a little bit late for East Coast people, but
Is it, no,
No,
it's
no. Sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific.
Yes.
That's what it is.
can I come in? Can I come? Can
yes.
I alert?
Yeah.
Please.
Cool.
Yeah, it's it's hard being a journalist these days. I mean, there's always been mental health stresses, but
But Jesus
when you're
Christ.
called fake news every day and attacked on social media, and there's just
And the election was pretty telling. I mean, it pretty much said half the people think you're lying in the country think you're lying. At least half the people who voted in the country.
right.
think
Oh, I
you're
know.
lying.
That's
And even worse, if you are a person of color, half the people in the country don't like you, like so, or are afraid of you or something. So it is, those are the two things that I think are really disturbing. I would imagine would be really stressful.
It's
yes.
tough on people.
What's that?
Yeah, it's tough on people.
People are they're crazy, and they've been manipulated enough that they're being jacked up, like we all are, like everybody's being jacked up. So the sides are social media is jacking us up, like everybody's getting like, and then on top of that, I think the closet racism of the country has just really come to the surface. It's not hidden anymore.
It's not, I mean, it's tough. It's tough on journalists. I mean, in the old days, all you would talk about was GD after you've been like in war zones.
Right, like Dean Yates, right?
Yeah.
Like something legitimate, like, yes. And now it's PTSD.
Except
I'd imagine.
you have to have a free and independent, you have to have a free press, but it's like the music industry, because like people are like, oh, we don't need them,
People, half the people in the country, well, they have their own press. They have their own press. That's the problem. They have a news channel that will tell them everything.
You got a couple of focus groups on a blog, and you're writing the high hog. So
well, right, and you've got Fox News and QAnon and all that. You've got these alternative sources, which are actually the liars, and nobody knows that now. They're just like, there's no difference, oh, your side tells you this and our side tells you like our side, the New York Times tells us one thing, and theirs in DC and then the LA Times, and I don't know. I'm not saying journalism was perfect before. There definitely were issues that were missed, but we're not QAnon.
We are not QAnon. That is for sure.
You are not QAnon.
But yeah, Leah, I'll send you the info. It'd be great if you could.
I would love to join. I would love to
Yeah.
join.
It's it's a topic that's getting a lot more attention.
Yeah, it needs a lot more attention.
Yes.
But I think one of the biggest problems is that people only want to read what they want to hear. Well, what they want to hear, basically.
Yes.
They want to confirm their own views.
They want their confirmation bias.
Conspiracies proved in front of them, and I see it every day on Facebook and Twitter, and people.
That's right. And social media unfortunately does that. And social media does that. It feels like social media is either on the one hand kind of inane, right? Like your lunch, your pretty flowers, your whatever. And then on the other hand, it's like, yeah, you're just like seeing a confirmation of what you think and believe. That's right.
Oh, Rolo, that's beautiful.
Let's see. How did I miss that? Oh, that's not his.
Okay.
That's the actual.
Oh,
That is a version that he found online. I'm not sure, Rollo, that that's the one. You're getting there, Diana. That's good.
I should
Darker
have
is
said
better.
that was mine.
I thought it was yours
Yeah,
at
you
first
should have
too.
said. You should have said, Rollo. Oh yeah, you totally should have said. Yeah, I just whipped this out.
I thought it was yours, Rolo.
That's so funny. Oh, that's
So
great.
Diana, I applied. I put in my application on Friday.
Hey, all right.
It was very tough. Apart from the one when I did the major thing, you then asked which other categories you'd entered, and I was like, I don't remember.
That's okay. But you had the confirmation emails, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
And I think we owe you $10 because you overpaid for one of the categories you entered.
Well, one of them, yeah, they're all 40, apart from one was 50.
That was a mistake from our
Okay.
side. So you'll get the refund.
Oh, okay, cool.
You can do it this way. You can get one free entry if you want, or you can get the refund of $10.
Okay, let me think about that one.
Yeah.
You know, it just occurred to me, I guess you guys don't need to see this. I have this on the computer screen. So maybe let me put up the color version. Here, hold on. I'll tell you what I mean here. I'm sorry, you're gonna find I'm often, particularly as I'm doing more intense demoing, sometimes it's really hard to speak. There is something that's very not verbal about doing art. And it's hard sometimes to put words on things when you're in the middle of doing it. I'm trying. Let's see, where is it? It's Redon. I cannot wait to see what you guys, wait till we get through the middle of next year. You're going to be blown away by what you can do. Where are you? I can already see you guys are going to do well with color. Well, dang it. Yeah, still this doesn't look as bright and vibrant as the one, I think because of the studio light. But I'm still gonna pop it in here anyway. And actually, I'm gonna edit it and pop the brights a little bit. Here we go.
Yeah, the one Rolo posted is really vibrant.
I don't think that's correct. I'm going to tell you honestly, I don't think that's what it looks like. I think somebody has pushed the contrast.
Can
Yeah.
you add it to the link to the group, or can you put
Actually,
another?
I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'm going to do one better. I'm not going to put up that one, but I'm going to put up this one, which is pretty, in which the color is also pretty saturated. Here, hold on. Watch here. If I can get here. Hang on. Let me do a share and I'll put it up. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it.
And the color is, you'll see, I actually have the color bar up here. I totally saturated the color. This is what this looks like. In a
Yeah, that
normal,
looks better.
right? But
Yeah.
I don't think that's what this looks like. I think this is too bright.
Yeah.
But you know, what can we do?
Considering the time it is from, probably.
I think it's bright. I don't think it's as bright. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
Well, hey, we live in a world of Instagram filters, right? So you
We
can
do. So
do whatever
just
you want
push-
to it.
Well, although we
I
do
tried
want to see
to
what
see-
will happen is when you see a Redon in person, it'll blow your mind. It'll
It's
just
fun.
blow
My
your mind.
my husband is really good at photography, and so of course I paint, and he does paintings with photographs, so it's like more instant.
He's trying to make his photographs look like paintings.
Yeah. There are so many filters you can just do impressionistic paintings or whatever from your photograph.
I had some woman come to my open studios, my studio once, and ask me how I felt about the fact that she could create a painting from a photograph in 5 minutes with filters, and something that took me like, I don't know, 2 days to paint. She asked me how I felt about that. And I was like, well, I still don't think that what you could do with a photograph filter is the same as
No,
what I could do with my hand.
of
So
course.
whatever. And then again, that is probably what the photorealistic painters said about the camera. Sure.
Yeah, what I mean, a lot of painters were
Put out of work.
illustrators before.
Yeah. I mean, they were put out of work. They couldn't imagine the painting as anything other than what became the photograph.
I mean, they used to send painters to the war, like Goya would be there as a war painter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I have this book from I can't remember when it was. It was definitely well before there was cameras. And it was a group of European explorers that actually came to the Florida coast and knew the Indians. And the guy who came with him was an artist, and his drawings are some of the only pictures, like, or, you know, visions we have of that group of people. And they're fascinating. I know I'm not helping here. I'll have to remember the name of the book and I'll show it to you guys, but it's, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, there was a time when artists were photographers. They were the photograph makers. And for many of them, I think, you know, the camera really threw this concept out the window.
Yeah.
So it really, and as modern people, all of us think of a painting as a very different thing than somebody from the early 1800s thought of a painting.
Yeah.
A painting was their photograph. And so it has become such that, like, you know, now we think of Impressionism as what a painting is.
Yep.
And we don't think of photorealism. We, in the general consciousness, we think of a painting as something that looks different from a photograph. That's like a photograph, but different from a photograph. I mean, we're impressed by painters who could do photorealistic work, but by far the more popular opinion is Impressionist painting.
Of course.
I
I had
mean,
someone ask me the other day why people in old paintings are never smiling. And I said, well, it's because, can you imagine smiling for 6 hours?
right. And also it was a thing. I mean, it was, I think, wasn't it true that, like, a lot of painting was religious? Religions went through phases of, like, people being happy or not happy. Like, I don't know, like, I think it was also just miserable for a lot of people a lot of the time. Life was brutish and short.
Are you quoting Thomas Hobbes?
Yes.
I see. I'm impressed. I'm impressed by my own ability to
Yes,
recall.
I'm impressed by your blood. That's awesome. And by the way, you have my favorite background going now, Paul. Paul's background, if you check it out, and his thing is Picasso's studio. The
Awesome.
first time I thought it, I was just having jealousy that he had a better studio than I did. Paul did.
I have Picasso's printing press on my wall behind me.
Do ya?
Yeah, I'll put up the camera, see if you can see it.
Let's see.
I don't know where it oh, shut up, you Julia. Can you see it?
A little higher. Oh yeah, that's cool. Is it a photograph?
No, it's a graphic. It's a graphic work of art.
Nice. Who
Yeah.
did it? Did he do it?
No, it's a guy named Anders Fogelin. He worked, I think I told you, he worked at the same printing press as Picasso in Miro.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
his brother, who's a friend of mine, his younger brother, when Anders died, he found a lot of his work with Miro and Picasso's on the back of his test printing.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen that 1957? I mean, that's sort of the interesting thing about Picasso, though. Like, you know, he was so prolific
Yeah.
and he drew on everything. He
Yeah.
painted on everything. And there's that 1957 painting, like movie about him. It's a French movie where they had him actually draw and erase on a glass pane right in front of the camera.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So in that case, there's like all these drawings that are there and then disappear, like hundreds of Picasso drawings that are there and then they're gone. They're there and they're gone.
Then they're gone. That was actually one of my more fun work as a journalist was I traveled in Picasso's footsteps. So I went through France where he had lived and worked for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did a series of articles about that.
That is so cool.
Fun.
That was fun.
What do you remember? What do you remember about it? What's the most
No, that it was
interesting?
so, I mean, it's one thing to see his art, you know, in galleries but where they are actually in its right surroundings and what is it called, Villeneuve, where he was doing his ceramic work.
Yes.
Oh, so like a quaint, serene surrounding, sort of.
Yeah, and you know, in the square in the city, he had this huge statue of a goat, goat and his
I love it.
whatever you call it, goat shepherd.
A goat.
He did the whole sculpture in clay, so he had to do it like in 4 hours so the clay wouldn't collapse.
Right.
And then it was cast in bronze, and now it's like in the middle of the square, and when they sell fruit and vegetables, people put up fruit and vegetables on the statue when they're selling for it. It was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun trip.
I once got to follow a Lonely Planet writer around for 24 hours for an article in Thailand. That was really fun. And that night never ended. That guy was crazy. He worked really hard and he partied like a beast.
Well, those days are gone, huh?
Yeah, we don't do that kind of journalism anymore, do we? That was so much, that stuff was really fun.
Well, we're older now.
Yes, we're older. Is that kind of journalism still done though?
I don't know if it is or not.
Not during a pandemic.
Yeah.
No, not during the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely not during a pandemic. It would be nice just to have a slow news day, right, guys?
Oh my God.
I mean, what does that even look like anymore?
I mean, it was so leisureful when you just could go out and do feature stories because something interested you, and there was
Yeah,
there was money and people would pay you to travel.
exactly.
Those days are gone.
I know. I felt
I remember when I used to work at WTN, which was prior to AP. We used to take Friday off. Friday at 1 o'clock at midday. So we
Yeah.
might work for 3 hours, and then they'd be like, "Right, we're going to this restaurant." And we used to just, one producer and one production assistant used to stay in the office in the newsroom, and everyone else used to go out to this restaurant, and we'd all get drunk. And then we'd go back to the office at like 5, and that would be it for the day.
Yeah.
That was every Friday.
Yeah.
For you, Rollo.
Huh?
Isn't that how it still is for you? Report.
Jane, don't blow my cover.
I was going to say, don't get Rollo started on some tales of his journalistic exploits. And stuff.
Oh my God, yeah.
Actually, Rollo had me like totally riveted in his story of his first time in San Francisco, which was terrible.
Yeah.
But like completely, I mean, complete with cult leaders and lots
Oh my
of
God.
drugs and like mugging and like
yeah.
crazy shit.
Oh,
And an
That was
angel
so-
who saved him. And
Yeah.
I know it sounded really horrible at the time, but it is a great story now.
It was pretty horrible. Oh my God.
I wonder if those
How's it
days
going?
ever come back.
Well, it's going okay, but obviously the one that I started off with, you can tell the flower that I started off with.
Mm-hmm.
I've overlaid it because
It looks a little dark. It looks a little dark and they're mixing. So what I would do is take a little toothbrush and scrub off like right here.
I don't have a spare toothbrush.
Let's see, use see if you can use, do you have hairspray?
I do have hairspray.
Okay, take some hairspray. Watch me. Watch over here. Here, I'm gonna pull this share down just for a
I
second.
saw you did before. I'm going to grab it. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay, here, then I'll put the share back up. Let's see. Try some hairspray. It shouldn't be that spritz stuff. Yeah, it should be sprayed. So spray it solidly. Yep. Let it dry, and then put your bright colors on top.
Okay.
Now hold on. And actually, then it'll look gorgeous because those darks look amazing if they don't mix with it. If you could just put it as a base. Here, hold on.
It's all just trying out how to mix the colors, really.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I want you to do. And I'm going to show you guys a totally amazing technique next week, which was very different and way more fun and less tedious than this mixing process here. So next week, we're going to learn a different technique. We'll probably do a landscape, but very simply and very colorfully. And you will need, well, I'll talk to you about it at the end of class. There's a certain kind of, you can use other papers, but the best paper to use is sanded paper. So I'll show you what that looks like because it is really rad and fun.
I shouldn't be doing this one.
Do you see how how your drawing training has led you to this moment as well. Is anybody feeling that at all? How your drawing training has helped you get to the point where you can deal with color.
I can see it. I can see it in people.
Yeah, I can too.
Yeah.
They might not even know it. This is what's so amazing to me. What's so amazing to me is your guys' progress is so pronounced. It's so clear that you might, like, I almost feel like it's hard to remember what it was like before you did it. Oh, that's beautiful, Paul.
Thank you.
So Paul, believe it or not, and it's hard to see, this is actually green. This vase is actually green underneath with black on top. So you might want to you might want to try putting green on top of your black to see how that works.
Is that gonna work? I'm not sure that'll work.
Try it. I think it'll work.
All right, let's try.
Are you enjoying the process, by the way?
Somewhat. Yeah.
It's hard.
I do.
I
enjoy it,
feel
yeah.
like this, and if you wanted to just practice this, this flower that I'm circling here, you could get a little bit lighter and bluer with your purple. So look for a purple that looks a little bit more like a blue to put on top.
Okay. There we go.
Nice, Lisa. So is that one, that purple one? Oh, I see. That's the one that's on top. So Lisa, I would say as well, you're going to want more purple and blue on this one.
Okay.
On the top layers. Maybe a touch of pink too. Purpley blue, a lighter purple blue. You'll see that he has these. So if you look up close, you'll see that he has these dark outlines, which you can add in at the end. But you don't put them in at the beginning, you put them in after.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see it better now.
And notice how he is layering in. Notice how his lighter flowers tend to have a background that's a little bit darker, and his darker areas have a background that's a little bit lighter. So one of the ways that he pushes everything forward with color is he's pushing contrast always. If you look and see it, you'll see that's one of the things he's doing with his backgrounds. That's really impressive.
Oh my God, I just added some purple and it's really cool.
Isn't it great?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I can see better now that, I mean, half of that flower is more purpley than the other half.
Yes, yes.
I don't think I should put this hairspray on at this point. I put it over the picture and now everything's not smudging.
Yeah, right. So now layer your colors over the top of that, and you'll really like that.
Okay, it's kind of gone horribly wrong.
What do you mean? Is it not dry yet?
I don't think it's dry.
Okay, so let it go. Let it go till it dries. Get a hair dryer. Go get a beer. Have a cigarette. Go have a cigarette. Come back and it'll be dry.
Don't encourage smoking.
I know, but I know he's gonna always have a cigarette. So it's a good cigarette break time. Have a beer. How's that? Can I encourage a little drinking?
That's much healthier.
Ooh, Cindy, pretty. So Cindy, notice that in actuality, I would start getting some of your yellows in around the vase so that you can really see that dark vase, because you have that vase is very light.
Oh, you mean like the background?
Yeah, because really that vase is kind of light, but your flowers look pretty. Are you using dark paper?
Yeah, it's black paper.
You're using black paper. Okay, so that's going to do a slightly different thing than the kind of mixing I'm doing. So yeah, add some yellows in. And pay a little bit of attention to the shape here.
Yeah.
My colors are really dull.
Yeah, I think, Diana, we may have gone, you're not waiting until stuff is drying. maybe let that base dry and then you can put your brighter colors on top.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll
Work on your doggies and then come
Really,
back and
really,
then,
really dull.
yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
better
you just
than
need
it
to
was
let it, you just need to
before,
let
but
it dry. You just need to let it dry. I know how quick you work, so just let it dry. Let's see. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's coming along. So just let it go for a minute and then yeah, as soon as it's dry, you'll be able to put your lighter, your light bright reds on top. They're beautiful. I noticed, and when you add in your purples, get that purple right here
Yeah,
and here, those are going to really
those purples are really nice
are
in
going to
there.
push it, and you're starting to get that background in. I like how your base looks. It's pretty. He's so great. He's just really great.
But at least we're painting.
At least we're painting, and we will be painting, my friends, into next year and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I should send you the, I think that I worked on that, the dog.
Yeah,
think,
send it over to me. I didn't think there was much that needed to be done.
yeah, I think it's better now. It's just the details. I'm just sending the detail of it.
Yeah, now he's starting to look a little brighter.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's starting to look a little bit brighter. I like it. I like those pinks you got in there too.
Yeah, you noticed that. Huh?
Yes, I did. That's your specialty, my dear. Those fun little splashes of unexpected midtones.
Yeah, so these dogs were, it's my friend's dogs and she wanted me to paint them. So I said, yeah.
I think that's awesome. They're really great.
That's great, Diana.
They really are lovely.
I'll send you, just because I just did
Yeah,
them.
send the whole thing, send the both of them, the whole.
Okay, I'll do that. Now that I think they're done. There.
Yes, I do too. Oh, so fun. They're adorable. I love the expression of the one on the left too, just cracks me up. So funny. Is it better, Rollo, now that you're back?
I've just started on a little bit. Yeah, just
All right.
trying.
Yes. Yep. You're gonna like it.
This bit that's, yeah, that's.
Ooh, Jane, lovely, gorgeous. So you're really starting to get a handle, Jane, on lights, mediums, and darks. That's what I'm seeing here.
I just
And
I can't quite work out what's going on in the black and white photo and some of the leafy bits. So I just
well, it's darker in area. It's darker in some areas. You can see up here. So I would go darker. And if you'll notice, Redon is very good. These are a lot of midtones, but like right here where I'm pointing, it's quite dark.
Yeah.
And right here, quite, oh, you've got that one in. Areas here, right, quite dark. But I think you've handled this pretty well, considering. I like it. Let's see, down in here, between these two, it's pretty dark. And to the right of here, very dark.
Dark, it's very dark, yeah.
Very dark. And then there's these darks. So you start to see, and this is good practice for when we start painting, if you're going to start painting with us in January, or you're of course welcome to stay with pencil if that's what you want to do. But you'll see that what we're talking about are value shifts. And what you can see here, even though this is a color photo, you can see that this is significantly darker and this is lighter. And because this is darker, this light really shows up, right?
Yeah.
So that's what Redon does very nicely. He does it all over, light, dark, right? Dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark.
Lovely,
light.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, there you go. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
want to, Lisa, you can also take a black pastel now and kind of do this outline here. I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't
Okay.
go all the way through. So don't do it all the way through, but notice where it kind of goes around the outside edge.
Okay.
And notice here, there's little bits of light blue.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was wondering.
really
I was wondering how to deal with that because, I mean, isn't it hard once you've already got a dark color down to add a light color?
You should be able to put a little bit of light.
Okay.
A very light, bright blue will probably
Okay.
look nice there. Yep.
How did you get that blue in there?
She
I
layered
don't
three-
know. Don't ask me to duplicate it.
She
I think
layered
Leah got
three
it.
colors of blue.
Yeah, I
And
did.
then-
Actually, I think I know which three.
Which did you do? Those
Whatever.
three?
Yep.
Did you put a brown underneath? Or
No.
are they just blues?
No, they're just blues.
Mhm.
Should I put a brown? Doesn't matter.
No, I mean, you
Okay.
could have. It's one.
I
way
mean,
to
I
handle
outlined it with the light yellow,
The
that
light
would
yellow. Yeah,
disappear,
I
but I
can see
didn't put a
that.
brown under.
Yep, yep.
But anyway,
You can
Paul,
also see.
this makes sense. That's what it
Yeah.
was, I think.
Yeah. So if you want to, so you'll see, it's kind of like something that goes around the edge
Okay.
here. And as you start to add that in, and you can put a little triangle of green here too, if you want to
Okay.
show, you can put that right over the purple
Okay.
to show that shape. But this is essentially how we do all art. We start with the simple shapes. We get the very strong contrast. And then as you start to layer color in, that's more important. The final shaping really comes almost last. I'll show you guys, I'm working on I think I can actually probably send it across the feed because I just took a picture of it. I'm working on a commission right now, two actually. This one is a woman's daughter and her dog. God, so much painting of animals we do. Where
That's
is
what people want.
it's what people want. I met a really cool lady here. Hold on, I'll see if I can find it here. Yeah, and here, look at this. So this is just barely beginning, right? Look at the this is the very beginning of a painting. There's a red underpainting, and now I'm just starting to layer the colors. There's not very much in there, and what I just think is amazing is look at how much life is already in that painting. Even though there's not that much detail, there's already a feeling of movement, of action, of here I am talking about how great my painting is, but I mean, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say, look at what I'm trying to say is this is how a painting, this is what it means to build a painting. It's so different from what people think of. Actually, I really like how his little legs are looking right now. It's totally cute.
It's very cute.
It's cute. It's really cute. Yeah, I had a wonderful, what I used to teach art classes through Airbnb as an experience. And my first client was a woman named Maggie Stiefvater, who is a YA fiction, like, one of those vampire, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
special power, like, and she's a New York Times bestseller. She's got like 25 books. She puts out a book a year. She's an unbelievable workhorse. But she's an incredibly gifted artist also. And she signed up for a class with me because she did all her work in colored pencil. She was in Seattle. She was in Portland, like promoting. It's funny. She was in Portland promoting one of her books, and and she was working on the other book, which needed to be finished because she writes a book a year. So she was working madly to try and finish this book, but she took like 3 hours out to have a class, and Maggie was great. And so we worked with paint. We had a good time. And she said, yeah, she in grad school, she actually paid for, she was an art major, and she paid for her college tuition by drawing people's horses. And
Oh,
she
wow.
said, oh my gosh, she lives in Kentucky. She's like, all you have to do is paint somebody's horse. People will pay you to paint their horse. They will pay you to paint their horse. You can make so much money off of painting horses. She is a stunning artist, actually. Very, very good. She does a lot of like drawing on book covers and giving them away to her many, many fans.
I was actually just asked to do somebody's horse, so I might do that.
It's a horse. I'm telling you, that's the regular. I mean, and horses aren't easy. But that is like that was like how she paid her college tuition or whatever it was after.
I grew up with horses, so that used to be my models.
So you're very used to painting horses. Yes, she said she was too, right? Like that's you get used to doing it.
Not that I've done it for many years, but that's what I used to practice on, was horses.
Horses have incredible bone structure. There's a lot going on there. Horses and cars. Lots more plane changes than you would imagine.
Cars I've never
Well,
done.
horses naturally have more depth because especially in the West, they automatically associate it with open areas, big sky country, the mesas, etc.
Yeah. Horses are important. They're important.
so-
Like dogs and cats and horses are important.
Dogs.
Is this what my fingers should look like?
Yes, that's what your fingers should look like, Lisa.
How do we get it off?
Hey, Cindy, what have you been up to since I last saw you? I think it might have been getting drunk with you a year and a half ago.
At the vodka place? I've taken a class. I took a class right before lockdown. Like in
Okay,
late
great.
February.
Thank God. I was going to say it wasn't that long ago. So what have you been up to?
Well, my boss passed away in September.
No.
Yes.
Shit.
So, yeah, well, he was 92, but.
So what are you doing?
Well, right now I'm still working for his wife and the family and sort of wrapping things up.
Wow.
And I don't know what happens after that, but I think I'm okay for a couple of months anyway.
Good.
It's a
Good.
complicated thing.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But other than that, I was mainly working. They took him out to the Hamptons to get him out of the city during the thing. But I think the lack of exercise, because he used to swim a lot in an indoor pool at a club, but then they all closed down.
And how old was he?
He was 92.
But he could have kept going if he hadn't been so confined, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of catching up with him his age, because for a long time he had more energy than I did. But I do think that the lockdown, the lack of just, he lived to work kind of, and
Yeah.
the lack of anything to do and lack of exercise, I think, hastened things. But other than that, I've mainly been, in the city, in New York City,
Right.
through all this.
Oh, my word.
Yes, it's gonna take a couple of more hours to finish this.
Yes. You mean the painting. So jump into, Diana, just keep it tomorrow. You can keep working on this one.
Oh, wait.
Um,
I'm glad
we
it's
will work
8 o'clock in
another, we will
I'm
do
so glad it's 8 o'clock in the morning because then I don't have to infringe on work.
on work time, right? You can kind of get finished and then be done. I kind of like it too. We changed, anybody else is also welcome to join us. Tomorrow, there is a class at 8 a.m. your time, and then there's a class at 3 p.m. your time. 3 p.m. is watercolor. 8 a.m. will be acrylic. That's, sorry, not yours, Cindy. It'll be 11 and 6 for you.
That's okay.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Eastern time is the only time that works for me.
Really? Excellent. So you'll be with us every week. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that. Not Thanksgiving week, but otherwise, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I mean, I have scheduled classes. I'm like, I wonder who's going to want to do this over Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I don't know. And New Year's.
Well, I should be around for Christmas.
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
We can negotiate. We can negotiate. We can negotiate. I am happy to be around as long as there are people who want classes, but oops, sorry. Stop the share. Let me start again. Oh my God, it's almost 8 o'clock. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
I'm gonna give up right now because I haven't eaten, so I can feel
Okay.
that.
Okay. Really good work. Why doesn't everybody send out? In fact, you know what? I'm going to stop the share for a second and I'm going to spotlight each of you. So Diana, I'll start with you. Go ahead and hold up what you got. Actually, that's coming along pretty nicely.
Do I have
Look at
light?
the light is never fantastic, but I like,
it's probably, I should do it this way.
yes.
Turn around. I should turn around. Hey.
Hold on and let me highlight Diana, which I think I can do. Hold on, where's Diana? Where's Diana? There you are. Hold on, I'm going to spotlight you. So can you guys all see that now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's coming along nicely. Very nicely. So some of her colors are still a little bit darker, you guys, but as she layers lighter colors, look at how light looks good under. Oh, we can see your little girl behind you. She's looking very bored. Julia.
Yeah, she's yawning.
That looks great, Diana.
Yeah.
Okay, Jane, show yours. Well, bravo. That looks
wow.
Wonderful. Look
That
at what
is
happened
awesome.
when you added your darks in. Isn't that beautiful?
And the dark,
Are you like feeling so proud of yourself right now? Like, I think it's really neat. I think that's
it's fun
awesome.
though. It's fun. It's good.
It's so fun.
When you start picking it up.
Yeah, and as the more you practice, the more you put into it, the better it gets, the easier it gets. All right, Cindy, I'm going to have you. You're on the spotlight now. Go ahead and put yours up.
Oh.
Show us what you got. Hold it up.
Well, it looks very muted in this light.
It does. Can you move it around?
I can't do.
I
can't
don't
see
think
it.
we get a good picture.
Yeah. I just sort of want to see the
Yeah.
general gist. Lisa. Let's see.
I just did these 3.
Oh, they look great. That
It
looks
looks
fantastic. Love it. Love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it
love
was fun playing with the colors.
Yep. Paul, let's see what you got.
I just have these.
Hold on. Can you take, you're going to have to take your background down, my friend, so we can see it.
Yeah, I know.
As cool as that is.
Might want to
That
go.
is cool.
Okay, here we go.
Oh yeah, that's coming along.
Yeah,
It's
it's
coming along.
nice.
Very nice.
Oh.
Coming along.
This is a family member of mine has much talent.
Ooh, those are cool.
Wow.
All right, hold on. I'm going to replace the spotlight. Hold on.
Rollo.
Rollo, let's see. Oh, yay!
I love it.
And wait, Rollo, till you start doing the background.
I know.
So a couple of notes before you go. I just want to talk to you guys for a little bit here. Hold on. Let me get back here to where I am. I'm going to put on the spotlight. So next week we're gonna use something called, dang it, where is it? We're gonna use something called sanded paper. And I had it.
That's what I've got here.
Yes, so let me show you.
Like they were
Oh,
in
wait, here it is.
this. Here we go.
So-
Bye.
Show it. Yeah, sanded paper, exactly. So it comes in different colors. Like this is, it actually physically feels, so it's hard, like floppy, like cardstock. It's not like what, it's fairly strong. And it actually feels like sandpaper. And you'll see it's toned different colors. So this particular one is toned yellow. There's one here that's toned kind of dark and gray. And what we're going to do is use pastels and rubbing alcohol or Gamsol, whatever you happen to have. Lisa, you'll probably have Gamsol, unless all the supplies are still at the office. Because
Can you use hand sanitizer?
you can't use hand sanitizer, but you can use rubbing alcohol. You can use rubbing alcohol. So if you've got rubbing alcohol, so we're going to use pastels, sanded paper, rubbing alcohol, and markers, like Sharpie markers. I want you to have a couple of those. I will send out
What
an email.
colors?
Dark, black.
So I shouldn't use black sanded paper is what you're saying.
You could use black sanded
I have.
paper, actually, if you've got it. But if you could get some other colors, it's fun to see, like experiment
Okay.
with what all those do. And what we're going to do is create bases doing this. So I don't know if you can see this, but it's not,
Okay.
it's totally fixed. It doesn't, that was all from other things. This is like, you'll notice none of that color came off of my hand. So as we're going to do a little drawing using a marker, and then we're going to go on top with pastels, and it's
Ooh.
unbelievable. You're going to go,
Ooh.
you're going to love it. It's very expressive. It looks so incredible because this becomes our base, right? This kind of soft painted thing becomes our base. The marker gives us a little bit of structure, and then the color is just phenomenal. In terms of preserving these or keeping these, I would actually just lay it flat somewhere, find a little shelf space, lay it flat, and then put another piece of paper on top of it so that you don't rub it. Or if you like what you do, pop it in a frame, put it in a frame or have it framed, because pastels are really great. I will actually probably talk to you and demonstrate for you how to frame pastels next week. I do it quite a lot.
Can you hairspray it like we did with the charcoal?
You can, but you'll lose all the color.
Okay.
So you can, but then you'll want to put more color. All pastels have some color on the top that's not fixed because
Okay.
you lose the color that way. But yeah, play around with it, spray it. What you'll probably do is after you spray it, you'll want to put more color on top. But like,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I don't think I'm keeping this one yet, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good to
you
know.
can also toss it if you want to. All right, you guys. And tomorrow there will be a lesson available online in the recording of tomorrow's lesson, which will be another Odilon Redon bouquet, not this one, will also be up. So if you want to look at that one, if you can't make it to the class, you've got another thing to practice with before I see you next week.
Liv, can I ask,
Yeah.
just before the class, would it be possible to send the picture over before we start the class? Because
Well, I just don't know who's going to be in the class. So I try to put it, do you want it to print it out? Is that what you're saying?
just so you can look at it and work out, because sometimes when you're doing the sketches, it's dark in your studio and you can't see the details.
It's so funny. It's not dark in my studio at all, but it is definitely looks dark.
Or through the Zoom or whatever, and then when you're going through the sort of techniques, you can't see the details. So it's.
I put them in the WhatsApp. So I guess my question is, I can try to remember, but here's the thing. As these classes grow, I'm not going to be able to email every individual person who comes to class before you come to class, guessing that you might. I can give that to Lisa and Diana, and they can pass it on to you.
Lisa can do.
I'll just make that decision earlier. Yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
I can do that.
That would be great. So I'll send that out at the beginning of the week. With the other classes, and that'll give you guys plenty of time to print that out.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I can attach it when I send around a reminder so people know what we're doing.
I get it, but Rollo, I'll also play around. I thought I was in the brightest part of my studio, but maybe not. So I'll just keep playing around with
Well,
positioning.
it's
and-
the detail on Zoom as well, so you can't.
yeah,
really
you just
see-
can't get it.
You
You
can't
can't get
see
it.
the detail. So, but if you could look at it before, then you can understand some of the things that you were teaching us.
Totally.
Make
I can
more
do
sense.
that. Actually, next week we're going to work from a photograph, but it'll be a color photograph. And so that will be, yes, I will make that available to you. Totally. We can do
Okay.
that, guys. All right. All right. We'll see you
Okay.
next week. Great work. Thank
Thank
you.
Good night.
So much.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah, good to see everyone.
Have a good
Take care.
night.
Bye.
Bye.